I was just about to say, was that the most relaxed you've ever been? Like, do you ever think back and think that was the calmest I've ever been in any job? Actually, no, it was an extreme sport. You risked your life back there.
It felt like it sometimes, yeah.
Welcome to English with Lewis. Let's go!
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to English with Lewis. It's funny how energetic I get all of a sudden as soon as I press record, because before then I was leaning back, yawning, thinking like, should I get myself a cup of tea or a coffee? And then I press record and so today we have a fantastic guest. And I'm sure you're familiar with her. But hello, Katherine. How are you?
Hi, I'm very well, thanks. Thank you for calling me a fantastic guest.
I was thinking fantastic, excellent, amazing, awesome. Would you disagree with all of these adjectives?
I mean, I couldn't possibly. No, they are wonderful, advanced level adjectives.
Beautiful. So as you're giggling a little bit, laughing a little bit, I think it's good for you to introduce yourself. Who are you? Where are you from? What do you do for those of us who don't actually know you that well?
And I will try to do it without giggling and laughing and being serious. So I am Katherine, 2 syllables, Katherine. And I have an English learning channel called English with Katherine. And I'm an English teacher. I mainly focus on daily English and pronunciation and accent. And I release 1 video a week on my channel.
Perfect. Beautiful. You see, I don't know what it is about all of us English teachers. We're just like, what can my name be?
I know. It was really hard.
It's like, English with Lewis. Aha. English with Katherine. Yeah.
I really just took so long trying to decide. And then I thought, simple sometimes just works, memorable, simple. And yeah, that was it, really. Yeah. I went with that.
So let's start having a chat about the channel and where the idea came from. Like, when did you set it up and why?
Yeah, why and when? Well, I had always wanted to do it. And it's the typical thing where you procrastinate on doing something for too long. And then I met the love of my life, who I'm getting married to, and he is very good at editing. So we just joined forces and started releasing videos about 1.5 years ago, I would say now. And it was really fun. And I would say to anyone, don't do anything unless you can find some fun in it, because it's work, but it's also fun. So yeah, it's going quite well, really. Yeah, I'm really loving it.
Teamwork makes the dream work. And
it's true. Yeah, we all think that we are individuals, in this world at the moment. We're very, individualistic and independent, but actually teamwork is so wonderful, and realizing that you need another human being to help you get somewhere is so great. So
yeah, it's good that you joined forces, but I'm curious because I do all my own editing. Sometimes in these kind of videos, I don't really edit a lot, funnily enough. But
you're amazing.
Editing is hard.
Yeah.
It takes a long time. It's a pain in the arse, if I say so myself.
It's a horrible thing.
Do you think you would have set up the channel if you hadn't had your fiance ready to help you with the editing?
No. No. I would still be procrastinating now and thinking, I should really set up a channel. But I have to say, there's a lovely website that you probably know about called Fiverr, and that's where we found our new editor. So I have to be honest, Tom found it really, really, really laborious and difficult, and we have got an editor. So I have to be honest and say that we have done that now. So
okay. But he was influential at the beginning.
He was amazing, and he's also really technical generally, which I'm not good at. And we all have our weaknesses, and mine's definitely technology. It's something I'm not that interested in, unfortunately. So yeah, that's a bit of a problem when it comes to this kind of work. But yeah, that's what happened. So yeah, we tried.
Lovely. And how long were you thinking about it and having this brainchild idea of setting up the channel before you actually did it?
So, it was actually the start of the pandemic. So 2020 was when I started really, really thinking, oh, wow, I want to do this so badly. I could do that. You know, when you just think, I could do that. You see people doing it on YouTube and you think, I could do that. So it was a bit like that. And then, yeah, another year or so. And that took us to the time where I started. Yeah, so quite a long time thinking about it.
No, I mean, it could be worse. Like, I think there are
It's been
many
like 10
people
years. Yeah.
who maybe are thinking about setting up their own channel about something and they keep putting it off
Yeah.
and like,
Yeah.
just do it, you know, bite the bullet, go for it.
Yeah, because it is scary putting yourself out there. And, you know, anyone can comment anything. You have to be very, you know, secure in your feelings to take criticism and all that. So, you know, you just got to go for it. You really do. Go for it.
And the first video that you ever posted, the moment it was about to go live, how did you feel?
Yeah, just so nervous and weird. I got all weird. I went out for a walk. I was really weird. But then I just thought, no, let's just see. And it was slow at the beginning. People just couldn't find me, obviously. I don't know how it really works still to this day about how people find you on YouTube, but people couldn't find me for a while. But yeah, it gathered momentum and then it took off a little bit. So that was great. But yeah, I was nervous.
A nice phrasal verb you used was to take off, which has many different meanings. You, of course, if you're getting in the shower, you take off your clothes. A plane, when it just starts to fly, it takes off. And you said that it took a while to build up momentum before the channel took off. And you can kind of imagine that this is a plane and it's about to start building up speed and popularity. So if a channel takes off, it suddenly gets viewers, engagement, audience, and so on.
Yeah, exactly. You can see how often we use phrasal verbs because, you know, you used one as well with putting it off. And it's true. We're not just saying it. It's really true. We use them a lot in speech when we're just relaxed like this talking. They're amazing. It's amazing how many come up in the conversation.
Oh, I like what you did there. They
can
come
help
up,
it.
they pop up, they appear, you know?
They pop up. They do, don't they?
Cool. So anyway, it looks like from your background that you live in
a dark cave.
a dark cave, yeah. But it looks like you live in the countryside, in the great British countryside. Is this the case?
Yes, pretty much, yes. It's not wild Scotland or Yorkshire, the Yorkshire Dells, but it is the countryside, yes, and it is beautiful. And I essentially live in a hobbit house here. It's very small, very cozy, very dark, very cute. I love it. So yeah.
Wonderful. Have you always lived in the countryside?
Well, yes and no. I've moved around, as I just found out that you have as well. I've moved around. I've lived in London. I did a brief stint in Thailand and also Spain. It's fun. So I haven't always lived in the countryside, but I've always come back to it. My parents live in the countryside and I was born in the countryside. So it's my comfort zone, really. And I like to kind of boomerang back to it. Every time I leave it, I always end up back in the green fields. I just love it. I feel so calm and happy in the countryside, really. What about you? Are you a city man or are you a country little mouse?
Bumpkin.
I'm trying to think, what is it? Country bumpkin, country mouse, I went with.
It's kind of a little bit of both because I grew up in a nice town, which is like in the suburbs of like Leeds. So we do have kind of the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Because we've got lots of like nice little neighborhoods, little cul-de-sacs. Then you've got some little woods and parks and fields. But if you walk down 20 minutes, you're in Bingley, my town, which isn't that big, but it's not tiny. It's got like a population of about 20,000, 25,000. And within one train ride, you're in Leeds in 20 minutes, Bradford in 15 minutes. You could get to Manchester in less than an hour as well. So I'm in an area where there are lots of different towns, but none of it is like a big city. Like, it's definitely not London at all. And
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I
Yeah.
like cities, but I do appreciate the fact that if you're in the countryside, you can see all of the greenery. You don't have noises all the time. It's a little bit safer as well if you're in the countryside. So maybe the pros outweigh the cons.
I think you're right. Yeah, it's true, isn't it? I don't think I could live fully rural. One of the worst words to pronounce ever, guys. Rural. Yeah, I don't think I could live fully rural. And I think what you've just explained sounds really great. That you have access to beautiful countryside, but you also have civilization if you need a hospital, for example, or a pub.
Very important.
Yes.
And life in London, you mentioned you lived there. I've never lived in London. I've visited, but not that often.
Okay.
How long were you in London for? And would you ever consider moving back there?
Well, so I was there for 4 years, which felt like 10, only because everything goes so fast. And I don't know, it just felt longer. But yeah, I loved the buzz, great energy, great restaurants, clubs, bars. But it's not somewhere to stay if you just want to sort of settle, for me anyway. So now that I'm at a point in my life where I'd like to settle and put down roots, we say in English, where we want to be a tree and stay somewhere for a while, it's not a city for me. So no cities would do that. It has to be countryside. But yeah, I'm glad I did it. I'm really glad. I think everyone should live in London if they can, or just go like you did, as much as you can, because it opens your mind. It's very multicultural, it's very open-minded, and it's just a great place, really.
It opens your mind, it broadens your horizons as well. And
Yeah.
I mean, London is one of the biggest and most influential cities in the world. So
Yeah, absolutely. And you can feel that. And if you want to get ahead in your career, it is the best place to be, really. Like, to meet the people that you need to meet, and it's great for that. So yeah, brilliant city.
ding, 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 phrasal verb alert, one that I love. You just used get ahead. If you want to get ahead in your career, you should go to London. And to get ahead is kind of to advance or make progress. Right now, this week, I've been getting ahead as much as possible with my content. So then I can chill out and relax.
That is so used, isn't it? Get ahead. Yeah, I didn't even think about it, but there it is again.
Phrasal verbs.
Yeah. Ding, ding, ding. Yeah, there's so many with get, isn't there? There are so many with get. I use that all the time. Yeah.
The list goes on and on.
It does. It doesn't end.
Now, you mentioned that you have been in Spain and Thailand as well. Tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah, I was in Spain teaching English, and that was Barcelona, and I loved it. That was actually in the pandemic, so I have to use that as a kind of way of like sort of referencing time, because I just forget which year it was. But yes, it was then, and I absolutely loved it. For anyone that hasn't visited Barcelona, it is probably like my top 5 easily favorite cities in the world. So have you been there?
I love Barcelona, and it's funny that a lot of English teachers seem to settle in Barcelona as well.
Yes, I've met so many people there that I'm still in touch with now. It was such a hub. Great work.
And what's not to like? You've got beautiful buildings, great food, friendly people, you've got the beach, you've got the mountains.
Yeah, if you had to, all the ingredients for a good city, it's definitely Barcelona, isn't it? Yeah, no surprise we like it.
And Thailand? When did you go there?
Yeah, so that's where I went when I first got my TESOL certificate, which is the certificate, as you probably know, for teaching English as a second language. And it was a great experience. 6 months in Chiang Mai in Thailand, teaching little children. And it was my first job properly. And I loved it so much. Have you been to Thailand before? Have you ever done that?
Yeah. I've been to Thailand, but I never went to the north, to Chiang Mai. And people always said that it was like the most beautiful part of the country. However, I was coming back from Australia, and I wanted to visit as many places as possible without really flying that often around like Southeast Asia. So I went from Australia to Bali, and then from Bali around the rest of Indonesia until I then got a very short flight to Singapore. And then from Singapore to Malaysia, Malaysia to Thailand. So I was always going up from the south. And then I thought, like, oh, Chiang Mai looks beautiful, but it's so far away from the south of Thailand and the capital, Bangkok. So, missed out.
That makes total sense. You couldn't have done a more logical thing there. That's a very good route that you did. And Bali, I've been to Bali. It's amazing, isn't it?
I mean, it's one of these places that is also a kind of remote workers hub where you've got loads of people who'll go there, take their laptop, start working. And we could do that. I mean,
yeah, we could do that. Are we going to? That's the question. There's almost too many places to choose from. Isn't it so like weird to think, well, I could go anywhere in the world. Why am I just here? But then it's like overwhelm of too much choice sometimes, isn't it? Like you sometimes just want one choice. But yeah, I don't know where I would go.
I mean,
love Europe.
It sounds like you have the perfect little hobbit house. So why would you need to move anywhere?
Exactly. Yeah, I am happy in my hobbit house. That's true.
Are you a fan of The Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit or anything like this?
Yes, although I did find the film to be mainly trees and fighting. But the book, I read the first book a long time ago, and it's so creative and amazing. And I love all of the like imagery. And what about you? Are you a fan? Yeah.
Like whenever I have to like binge watch a trilogy or any kind of series of films or anything like that, it's always Lord of the Rings. I think it came out at exactly the right time in my life. And my friends were all hooked as well. They loved it. So then we'd have like binge watching sessions of Lord of the Rings, of course, extended version always. And we'd try to watch all 3 films in the same day. Sometimes we'd make it, other times we'd fall asleep. But yeah, Lord of the Rings, it's incredible.
Is it kind of your comfort series as well? Like you put it on and everything's okay, right? You're like, oh, Lord of the Rings, yeah. It's a nice.
My precious.
Yeah, I do. I love the soundtrack as well, like the music, and it's so wonderful. Just quickly, what about Harry Potter? How do you feel about Harry Potter? Where do you stand on that?
So, nice question. Where do you stand? It's like, what is your opinion? Perfect. Not as enthusiastic.
I'm feeling that from your general vibe.
Yeah, I don't mind Harry Potter. I never read any of the books until like a few years ago. In fact, during the pandemic, I tried to read the books in Spanish, and I was like forcing myself to do it because I thought it'd be beneficial for my Spanish. And of course it was, but I just wasn't that into it. I'd get bored. I'm not much of a reader, really. I'm not a bookworm, but I do love series and films and stuff like that. But reading, it's a slog. It's an effort for me.
Yeah, it is though, isn't it? It really is. And especially, I'm not saying you don't have an attention span, but these days people have less of an attention span because we're used to watching things constantly. And I'm the same. I do have to really force myself to read. The only time that I can really read is before bed because it's such a nice time to wind down slowly with a book. What about you? Do you watch screens just before bed? Because that is a bad habit.
Yeah, guilty.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard, isn't it? Sometimes I fall into the trap if I'm really tired and I'm like, oh, come on, I just want to watch a series. But yeah, I try to read.
It's so much easier when you think about it. If you've had a lot of classes as well, or you've been moving around, busy, then for me to pick up a book, I just need so much willpower. And then when I'm reading it, my mind will go in different directions. Yeah. So then I'm like, oh, wait, where was I? What was happening?
And then you have to reread the last 10 pages. Sometimes I don't, and I just plow on. And I've literally no idea what's going on, but I'm like, at least I'm reading. This is definitely the best thing to be doing.
100%. Phrasal verb again, a nice advanced one.
Yes.
Plow on. Yes. What does it mean? Plow on.
I just thought it was a Led Zeppelin song for a second, but that's Ramble On. God, that's a good song. Okay.
Another phrasal verb, you know?
Oh, another phrasal verb. Plough on has got a kind of farm vibe to it, doesn't it? It's a countryside theme. But yeah, plough on is just to keep going when something is difficult. Because you know, when you're ploughing a field, well, not that we all know what that feels like, but I'm sure it's very hard.
They're in Hobbiton.
Yeah, gonna go and plough my field after this. But yes, plough on is just to keep going. Don't give up, really, if it's hard. Yeah.
Wonderful. And to ramble on, if somebody is rambling on, we could also say that they are waffling on. And it's basically someone who's like speaking about random things, going in different directions. You're not really interested in what they have to say, and they're just rambling on, waffling on. You just need to tell them, like, come on, give it a break.
God's sake, get to the point. And just to tell you something about that, when I used to film YouTube videos, you know, in the early days, well, a year ago, I used to waffle on a lot. And Tom would be like, Kat, stop. And I'd be like, oh, sorry. And I have a tendency to just, you know, go off on a tangent or just ramble on. And yeah, so that was my old style. But now I'm much better at like staying on the point and then moving to the next one. So yeah.
Sounds like everything's so professional now.
It's YouTube friendly, basically. You gotta realize that you gotta stay engaging. So yeah, so professional.
And you mentioned Tom again, and you also said that, of course, he used to be your editor, and you're getting married. So
yes,
is life a little bit stressful at the moment with the wedding coming up?
Not at all. It couldn't be more stressful. No, it's pretty hectic right now. I think I'm in the eye of the storm, right? Which means that you're in the worst bit of a difficult time, and you're kind of, lots of things to book up, lots of things to organize. But I don't want to be negative. It is so fun and so exciting, and it's really soon now. It's in less than 2 months. Oh
wow!
So yeah, it's great.
And I have never organized a wedding, and I've been to very, very few weddings myself as a guest. I've been to a couple of weddings in Spain. They were amazing. I went to my sister's wedding a couple of years ago, and it's all about to happen where my friends are starting to get married as well. I'm holding on and trying to resist.
Yeah, like, not yet, please.
Give me another couple of years, you know?
It's strange, though. It's like a sort of chain reaction because, yeah, all my friends are doing that at the moment as well. But, you know, once you see how fun it is, you're sort of like, oh, I kind of want to have a big party because that's what it really is. But yeah, it's the same for me. Yeah, they're all starting to get married around me now. So, yeah.
And what would you say is the most stressful part of organizing your wedding?
Just sort of people management, making sure everyone knows what they're doing. Because the thing is, it's a kind of performance, really, because you have to walk down an aisle and people need to like know what they're doing. And there's a few logistical things. But yeah, there's just lots of little things is what I would say that you can kind of forget and be like, oh, we haven't done that yet. Oh no. Like making the place names and these little details, but nothing specific, I would say. It's just have you ever like organized a big party have you ever had a big party where you've had to organize an event? Have you organized an event before?
Not really. Like I've organized classes, things like that. So
a little bit like that.
Kind of used to organizing certain things, but then when it comes to my party, like for my birthday or anything like that, I don't really like to be the center of attention, and I don't like to be in the spotlight. So usually my girlfriend will be asking me like, Lewis, what do you want to do for your birthday? And I just tell her like, should we go away for the weekend so that it's just like the two of us, and I don't have to tell people like, oh, thank you, yeah, it's my birthday. How old are you now? 32, great.
That's such a lovely answer. That's such a lovely thing you said, because that's so honest. Because, you know, that is how I feel too, that I actually don't really like the attention of it either. And it is a bit of a, you know, when your birthday's coming and you think, oh no, I have to do something. If I leave the country, I don't have to do anything.
That's the key. Escape.
So true. Escape everyone, run away, and then come back and be like, yeah, that was great. Yeah. But yeah, it's so true that the attention thing is the wedding thing is a bit like that. So maybe you would feel like that, but you could always elope and run away. You don't have to do it the traditional way.
Yeah, just run away from your problems, commitment,
Always.
all of these things.
Yeah.
But the best thing about weddings, in my opinion, is the catering, the food.
Yeah.
So have you sorted all of that out? Have you organized it all?
So you say it's the best thing. It's also, I would actually now answer your question properly and say that's the most stressful thing.
Oh, really?
Because we live in a world now where most people have allergies and dietary requirements. So because of that, it's actually quite difficult to do a sort of dinner for everyone. But yes, we're nearly there with that. I'm actually doing that after this, actually, with my mum. We're sitting down and working it all out a bit. But yeah, that's definitely quite a difficult part of a wedding planning.
Awesome. Now, just on that note, because I'm used to teaching a lot of Spanish speakers, and they actually use the word catering in Spanish. However, they pronounce it like Katherine. So this is just a message to all Spanish speakers who are not sure how to pronounce this word. It's always like, hey, catering, the catering company.
Great observation there. And it's so confusing, isn't it? Because why is it catering and not catering? It should be catering. But that makes me think of something to do with cats and like having a cat. Like I'm catering this weekend with my cat.
My name's Katherine, and I'm catering this weekend.
To be honest, it does sound like how people pronounce my name in Spain, actually, sometimes, because I would get called Katherine, sort of more like that. But everyone calls me Kat usually, so that's also great to call me that. I never know which one to choose. But you are just Lewis, right?
Just Lewis. But again, in Spain, people would normally say like Lewis. And I'm like, well, I don't mind if you mispronounce my name. But it's Lewis, like Lewis Hamilton, easy.
Yeah. Did they ever call you Luis?
Not so much. I've had Luis, I've had Lucho, I've had Luisito, I've had Lewis. So
I like all of those. They are all lovely. But yeah, your name is Lewis.
Lewis. Exactly. Just Lewis.
Plain old, yeah. Plain
That's it. Now, a little birdie told me, I heard on the grapevine that your first job wasn't actually in Thailand teaching English. I heard that you worked at a garden centre.
Yeah, I mean, when you say first job, that was my first teaching job. But yeah, my first ever job was a lot less glamorous, if you can even say teaching English is glamorous. But yeah, it was definitely very stressful. Customer service. Oh. You must have had a job, like sort of a Saturday job in a cafe, maybe. What did you do? Come on.
Yeah, my first ever job was actually a paper round. So I was a paper boy. Right now, I'm thinking of Avril Lavigne, and it's not Skater Boy, but I was a paper boy.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, after school, when I was, I think, like 13, 14, maybe, I got on my bike. I went to a guy's house. I picked up like 50 different regional newspapers. It was the Telegraph and Argus, which is a local newspaper in Bradford. And then I'd go around my town delivering different newspapers, trying to put it through the letterbox. And then sometimes you'd have like people who had dogs. And then you'd have to try and get it through the letterbox before the dog started like barking. And you never knew if it was going to be like a Chihuahua or like a Doberman. So you had to be quick, straight to the point. Like, here,
it was risky.
Newspaper, and I'm off.
I was just about to say, was that the most relaxed you've ever been? Like, do you ever think back and think that was the calmest I've ever been in any job? Actually, no, it was an extreme sport. You risked your life back there.
It felt like it sometimes, yeah. Sometimes you had dogs, and then you see the sign, and the sign usually says, beware of the dog. And then if you've never delivered that paper before, you've never been to that house, and you see that sign, you're going to start to, excuse my French, shit yourself.
Sure.
You're going to get very nervous. You're going to panic. And you're like, oh my God, how big is the dog going to be? Is it going to give me rabies? And then it'd be a nice little Yorkshire Terrier. And there was no reason to be afraid of it at all.
I mean, normally if they have a sign, it's not usually a Yorkshire Terrier, is it, really? So you're right to worry. But I think they have the sign just to, warn off burglars, because, it obviously looks like there's a bigger dog than there is.
Okay.
Yeah, that is hilarious.
That's stressful.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Now, we mentioned Lord of the Rings, and I gave you my brief opinion on Harry Potter. How do you feel about Harry Potter? Were you really into it?
So yeah, great way of asking that. So my dad went on a business trip and he had to fly, and he got the book in the airport. This is when the Philosopher's Stone, the first one, was hardly, I think that's what the name was. Anyway, and he came back and he was like, girls, because I've got a sister, girls, you've got to read this. You have got to read this. It's amazing. It's going to be huge, I think. He knew that this was a good thing, and it was going to become famous. And yeah, it was then that I read the book, and if you read the first book, yeah, it's just got so much creativity. It's just so imaginative, and the film does not do it justice. I'm sorry, but it doesn't. I mean, it's great, the film, but it's not the same as the book for me. Like, I imagined all the characters differently, and I'm sure everyone feels the same, actually. But yeah, I loved it. And then I read the second one and the third one, and then I think that was it. I didn't read any more. I just read the first three. For me, they were the best. So yeah, it's very imaginative.
Okay, so it sounds like you were an early adopter. You were ahead of the curve when it comes to Harry Potter.
I feel like I sound like I was, yeah. But it was just my dad's passion. Like, he was so like, you've got to read this. And my dad loves owls, so I think maybe that's why he was captured, because the owls like deliver like letters and parcels. It's very lovely. So yeah.
Beautiful. Now, just thinking about all of the phrasal verbs and expressions we've used during this call, during this little chit chat, like, the list is endless. So if anyone has any doubts about the phrasal verbs and idioms expressions that we've been using during this little conversation, please let us know in the comments, and I'd be more than happy to clear up any doubts, in other words, to clarify. But I think this is a perfect moment to start finishing this chit chat with our favorite idioms. So, Katherine, do you have any favorite English idioms or expressions?
You go first. No, I'm joking. I'll go first. I have one that is just the go-to for positivity, which is every cloud has a silver lining. And it really does go sort of travel with me through life, because I think of it a lot when something bad happens. You should always look for the positive. So that's my go-to idiom. But what about, do you have one?
I mean, I use loads over and over again.
Yeah.
Like, hit the nail on the head, I use all the time with my students, because I want to be supportive and encourage them. Like, wow, you nailed it. You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
But the ones that I would actually use myself, I think the number one is probably to go with the flow, because I'm a kind of easygoing guy with most things. Maybe with work, I'm a little bit more angsty and I get a little bit stressed sometimes. But in my free time at the weekend, I'm easy. I'm happy to do anything, really. So I just go with the flow. Like, I just, take everything as it comes. If people suggest different plans, I'll be like, all right, yeah, why not? Let's go with the flow.
That's great. So you kind of chose an idiom that reflects you. And very often the language that you use is actually very personalized to you. And yeah, so are you the kind of guy that you don't always have to have an agenda? So like, when you're on holiday, you're not that guy that's like, right, we need to go here, here, here. And if you don't want the plan, then I'm doing it anyway. Like, you're not like that, right?
Well, if I'm on holiday and whenever it's anything unrelated to work, to be honest, I don't like planning anything.
Yeah. It's a good way to be.
Whatever happens, whatever will be, will be. And it stresses me out actually a little bit to think about organizing things. Like,
Yeah.
for example, my family, they always organize like a summer trip to the beach in England, and they do it like 10 months, 11 months in advance. Like we finish the trip and then they're already organizing the next year's. And I'm like, guys, just come on, give it a break, chill out, calm down, go with the flow.
Because maybe when it gets to that time next year, you might fancy going somewhere else.
Right?
Simple as that, right? I
You
mean,
know.
I will be honest, I am a planner, but I like that idiom because it reminds me to go with the flow, because you should in life. You shouldn't always be planning ahead with everything. It's just too exhausting apart from anything. So yeah, I love that one as well.
Wonderful. Now, on that note, I think I'll let you continue organizing your catering, the wedding, all of these things that you've got going on right now, because it sounds intense.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I don't really want to go back to it, but I have to. I have things to tick off the list. Tick off, another phrasal verb. So yeah, but yeah, thank you. I will go back to it. I've got a meeting with my mum next, so yeah, I will do
Okay,
that.
that sounds, yeah. Wow.
Intense. Oh.
Very intense. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure having a little bit of chit chat, nattering
Yeah.
on, going over all of these advanced words and phrases. So, as I said, let us know if you have any doubts in the comments and you want
Yeah.
me to clear up any of these idioms or phrasal verbs. But, Catherine, good luck with all the organizations. I'm sure everything will go swimmingly, it will go perfectly. And yeah, I'd be more than happy to do this again in the future.
Yeah, great. I'd love to. Thank you for having me on your channel.
Woo! And thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.
See you.
Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and see you next time.